Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something that is absolutely going to shatter the comfortable pop culture image we have of our closest primate relatives. For decades, we've kind of viewed chimpanzees through this lens of innocent curiosity, right? Like they're just playful, amusing animals. But the reality hidden deep in the jungle is far darker and, honestly, deeply unsettling.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When researchers first headed out into the wild, they were looking for a reflection of our own intelligence. They wanted to see humans in them. But what they actually found was organized brutality. We're not just talking about an animal acting out aggressively here. We're talking about a highly coordinated, intentional capacity for violence that literally left seasoned experts terrified.
Part 1. The cute animal illusion.
For literally generations, pop culture fed us this narrative that chimpanzees were harmless clowns. We dressed them up, made them smile for the cameras, and fully convinced ourselves they were just innocent entertainment. And prior to the 1960s, the overwhelming scientific consensus actually backed this up. We thought they were peaceful vegetarians. We firmly believed humans were the absolute exception in nature, the only species capable of war and premeditated murder. But modern scientific reality completely demolished that illusion. It turns out our closest relatives are territorial, strategic killers.
The truth is, real wild chimpanzees are absolutely nothing like those smiling animals you see online. What researchers quickly realized out in the field is that a chimp can switch from being perfectly calm to violently explosive in just seconds. And when they do, they're swinging a massive bite force and physical strength that, pound for pound, completely dwarfs a human's. It's a level of sheer unpredictability that terrifies even the experts. But what happens when that unpredictable aggression becomes organized?
That brings us to part 2, the Gombe Chimpanzee War.
Let's look at how this all escalated. Under the legendary Jane Goodall, long-term research at Gombe National Park revealed something genuinely terrifying. In the early 1960s, scientists were amazed to just see chimps using tools. Wow, so smart, right? By the late 60s, they observed them cooperatively hunting. But then, in the 1970s, this intelligence was weaponized against their own kind. The Gombe War began.
So the Gombe Chimpanzee War was a prolonged 4-year territorial conflict. And what makes this so unprecedented is that a single, unified chimpanzee community literally fractured into 2 rival factions. What followed wasn't just typical animals fighting over food. It was a systematic extermination campaign. Researchers watched in absolute shock as they documented targeted murders, where victims were intentionally isolated and brutally beaten to death by gangs of their former friends.
Just listen to how the researchers themselves described it. The jungle wasn't peaceful. It was a battlefield. The emotional toll this took on the scientists was profound, because they realized they weren't just watching animals survive the harshness of nature. They were documenting a primitive, devastating form of human-like warfare, playing out right in front of their eyes. Which leads us to a really crucial question. Why did this specific violence terrify these researchers so deeply? Nature is full of predators and prey, right? Life and death happen all the time. So why did the chimpanzee's behavior cause such intense psychological discomfort for the scientists?
Section 3. The anatomy of organized violence.
So the key takeaway here is that the horror didn't stem from random, chaotic animal aggression. It came from a calculated, multi-step strategy. Step 1. Systematic border patrols. Chimps would literally line up and move in complete silence through the jungle, anticipating enemy movement. Step 2. Target isolation. They specifically sought out weaker, outnumbered individuals who had strayed too far from the group. And Step 3. Coordinated ambush attacks. This is strategic, military-like behavior utilized strictly for long-term territorial expansion.
And the behaviors get even darker. Researchers documented rigid dominance hierarchies and, shockingly, revenge-based aggression. They saw coalition building and then sudden, brutal betrayal. They even witnessed attackers continuing to beat victims long after they had completely submitted, alongside incredibly dark acts like infanticide and cannibalism. It didn't look like basic survival. It looked, well, entirely sadistic.
This all brings us to a really haunting realization. What terrified researchers wasn't the violence itself, it was how intentional it looked. That's the absolute core of the psychological discomfort here. The anticipation, the cooperation, the sheer malice of the attacks. It just feels way too familiar to human behavior.
And so we have to ask the ultimate question. If we see this level of strategic, organized brutality in them, what does this reveal about us?
Part 4. The Dark Human Mirror. 98 to 99%? Let that sink in for a second. That is the amount of DNA chimpanzees share with humans. We are incredibly close genetic relatives. By studying them, we aren't just studying animals in a vacuum, we are essentially looking backward in time. That massive, undeniable biological link connects the calculated brutality of the chimpanzee world directly to human nature. It totally blurs the line between animal instinct and human behavior. And this brilliantly illustrates the undeniable parallels. We share tribal behavior, political hierarchy and alliances, social punishment, warfare and power struggles. The complex social intelligence driving a chimpanzee ambush closely and very uncomfortably mirrors early human tribal systems. This creates a massive existential fear for anyone studying our origins. You see, we usually like to think that human violence is simply a case of civilization failing, that war is just a breakdown of our normal civilized state. But the disturbing implication of the chimpanzee is that human aggression might actually be ancient biology resurfacing. It's a deeply rooted evolutionary survival pattern that we haven't outgrown. We still carry it within us.
Deep in the jungle, scientists discovered something horrifying. Not monsters, mirrors. The profound unease we feel when we look at the reality of chimpanzees isn't because they're evil demons of the forest. The horror comes from recognizing our own darkest instincts, staring right back at us through the leaves.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are humans truly separate from this kind of primal aggression? Or are we simply more controlled versions of the exact same evolutionary blueprint? Thank you for exploring this fascinating, if unsettling, topic with me on this explainer. I'm just going to let you sit with that question.